Welcome to another week, another show of Hawkeye with me, Dave O'Hara. Thanks for tuning in. Got another great show lined up for you this week. I know you'll think so after viewing it. James Vandenberg and James Morris. We got the James gang back together again. Going to talk about that unfortunate loss to Michigan last Saturday, 42-3, but bowl prep getting ready. And we'll talk to the Jameses about that. And then Jeff Horner, former Hawkeye basketball playing great, now head man at Truman State, going to talk about his season and also the Iowa Hawkeye men's season. Looking forward to that. And then, of course, Sean Bock going to join us this week from Hawkeye Insider to talk about recruiting and what's upcoming for the Iowa Hawkeyes. So a lot on the plate, so get ready for it. Hello to Craig and Stacy Schroeder from Fight with Flash Foundation via Facebook or fightwithflash.org. Craig and Stacy, it's Giving Tuesday again as we record this on Tuesday. So Giving Tuesday for 22 Flash's number. Right. You two ready to roll?
Absolutely. We are.
We're looking forward to it. Let's do it then. Let's go to the website, DaveO'HaraSports.com, for our web exclusive video every week with Craig and Stacy. But please be sure to watch that after this show first. So back with more Hawkeye in just a few moments. Welcome back to Hawkeye with me, Dave O'Hara. As you can see on the screen, my buddies James Morris and James Vandenberg. And guys, I'll tell you, James Morris, former Iowa Hawkeye linebacker, former Solon, Iowa High School, great NFL Super Bowl champion. James Vandenberg, former Keokuk, Iowa quarterback, still holds all the records, many records in the state of Iowa for passing, and then former Hawkeye quarterback, now with RBC Wealth Management and Cordo Investment Group. James Morris with Principal Financial, formerly now with Green State Credit Union. So guys are both in the financial words, killing it in life. So let's talk football, where things didn't look so great on Saturday night for the Hawkeyes against Michigan, 42-3 loss. But they are going to the Citrus Bowl to play a former Hawkeye, Mark Stoops, and the Kentucky Wildcats. So January 1st bowl game, still there with a New Year's 6 game. So congrats to the Hawkeyes on a very fine 10-3 season. So James Morris, I'll start with you first, and hello to both of you, and thanks for joining us. But James Morris, I'll start with you first. You talked to me off the air and asked me what happened, and I gave you my answer, but people want to hear your and James Vandenberg's answer. So your answer was very trite, not trite so much as straight and to the point. So give us your answer again, please.
Yeah, I said earlier that the better team won, and I think that was pretty apparent and very apparent in the fourth quarter. Listen, was it a disappointing end to what was otherwise a pretty successful regular season? Yes. But this team played hard all year. They found a way to win some games that I think you would say on paper they should not have won, looking at the stat line. But unfortunately, that escape maneuver that they've had in the fourth quarter against some of the better teams, they just weren't able to muster that in the championship game. And as good as Penn State was, or some of the other teams that we played this year, Michigan was just that much better. And so our brand and our style really wasn't enough to get the win.
So James Vandenberg, you know we're going to talk offense, or lack thereof. Yes, some missed opportunities in the first half for the Hawks instead of a 14-3 deficit, and they were getting the ball to start the second half. Could have easily been a 14-10 game if Potabom catches the ball in the end zone. Great creative play that Brian Ferentz put together, offensive coordinator. Everything but the final end result. Even so, a missed field goal would have been a 14-6 game, but nonetheless, it was 14-3. Hawks come out, don't take that first drive down the field. Michigan comes back on a long drive, scores. Now it's 21-3 going into the fourth quarter. And now, the points just kind of added up. But for three quarters, or at least for 2.5 quarters, we had a ball game. So you and I texted during halftime. You texted me and said, I thought Petrus was doing a solid job. Interesting change at quarterback with Padilla. Give me your takeaways. Of course, social media going crazy with get rid of Brian Ferentz. What's wrong with the offense? Full disclosure, viewers, we're recording this on Tuesday afternoon, the day after Monday Night Football, when Brian Ferentz's former NFL teams, as James Morris and James Vandenberg and I were talking off the air, threw the ball 3 times last night on Monday Night Football and won the game over the whole game. So all that laid out there for you, James Vandenberg. Take it away, please.
Yeah, I mean, in general, just you play a team like Michigan, the margin of error is thin. I don't think we leave that game thinking, wow, we really botched that and made a bunch of mistakes. I think we weren't good enough on Saturday to beat them. I think that was kind of just the case. Offensively, like you said, there was a lot left out there. The quarterback switch, I mean, I'm thinking that was just looking for any sort of spark. Because I'm watching, at least from my comfortable couch, not there. And it's like, man, people were guarded.
Yeah.
People were not open at all. And then you throw in the fact that there's a DN that's up for the Heisman that isn't going to let you just stand there for very long. And it's like, I don't know what Peter's stat line was, but I saw him basically trying to do his job the best he could given the circumstances. You bring Padilla in looking for a spark. I get it. The spark didn't happen. I mean, it's just one of those, you're playing a physical, tough football team, kind of similarly branded to us. Way too much gets made. I mean, in my opinion, of Brian and play calling. I mean, I've had a lot of conversations with a lot of smart people, and I was like, what should we be doing better or more of? I mean, I don't have the answer to that. We're 10-2. We play in a tough conference. 10-win seasons don't happen that often. Like, we got beat Saturday. We don't statistically show up that well on the offensive, but this year's formula didn't necessarily need an offense that scored a ton. And it sounds ridiculous, but maybe we have an offense that's high flying and we somehow don't win 10 games. That is possible because we don't turn the ball over and we don't let the other teams have the ball a ton either. But I mean, overall, sad we lost. I'm glad we didn't lose it. I mean, in a way that we turned the ball over a bunch. I thought we fought. Like, the game was not as distant as 42-3. The score makes it look really bad when you see it go across the bottom line. But if you watched it, it didn't feel like a 42-3 when you're playing Southeast Louisiana, Lafayette, or whoever.
So James Morris, as you're nodding along as I was to James Vandenberg's points, you're on the defensive side. Let's say you're Aiden Hutchison, the aforementioned DN that James Vandenberg was talking about. Even though you were a linebacker, stand-up DNs kind of have that flexibility to have that. You face a Brian Ferentz team, coach team, offensive coordinator, if you're on the defensive side. You did in practice with Phil Parker, and obviously there were different people in the OC position when you were practicing against that. But my question following up to James Vandenberg, to James's statements to you, James Morris, would be from the defensive side of the ball. I understand predictability, tendencies, that type of thing. But kind of to James Vandenberg's point, you can't come into a game like that and say, okay, let's pitch what we did to win 10 games, and now we're going to go willy-nilly and chuck the ball all over the field. So as a defender, yes, you can, as you're agreeing here, you can accept some tendencies and know what's happening. But then again, you can't change the whole playbook against this defense. Talk about that a little bit, if you would, please. Predictability.
No question. Play calling is not the reason that we lost that game. Every game boils down to the simple fact that football is a series of one-on-one matchups cascaded across the different positions. In the way Iowa typically tends to win is their one-on-one matchups. They get an edge on the offensive line and typically at your big-bodied skill positions, like your running backs versus an unblocked safety, or your tight end versus a linebacker who's coverage challenged. And so on any given play, they might have 6 or 7 guys that win their one-on-one. What happens and where that model starts to break down is when you play in Michigan or Ohio State and they've got 9 or 10 guys that are going to win their one-on-one on any given play. So you lose your advantage on those big body positions and you don't have an advantage at the skill position. And when you get to these games, like conference championship games, they play a lot more like NFL games, which is, hey, the dumb penalties, the turnovers. Those don't happen, and it's about people executing really difficult plays in tight windows, like making catches on the sidelines, executing fades in the back pylon, creating extra yardage on runs via blocks downfield, or just being smart about clock management, things like that. You're 2:30 to play in the half, and a smart running back knows to run out of bounds to conserve time. So you have timeouts so you can pick up points, down the line. And we were just not at that level, both from a talent standpoint and an execution standpoint. Michigan certainly was from a talent standpoint, and it really took 3 quarters for that to kind of shine through.
Okay, well stated. And again, James Vandenberg, I'm going to get your prediction first and then follow up with you, James Morris. So James Vandenberg, we're going to the Citrus Bowl. The Hawks are on January 1st, playing in Orlando. Last time you both were in high school, you remember you were following the Hawks, and Drew Tate, a guy you looked up to, James Vandenberg, and threw the big pass to Warren Holloway at the end of the game to beat LSU. That's the last and only time the Hawks have played in the Citrus Bowl. Recollections of that play for your younger versions of you guys, but also how you see this game playing out. James Vandenberg first, please.
Yeah, first of all, I don't think it's called the Citrus Bowl. It's probably the Capital One Bowl. But
That's
I
right.
remember the play. I don't know anything about Kentucky. I'd be lying if I even commentated on. I haven't seen Kentucky on TV one time, so I don't know. What I know is you give us 2 or 3 weeks to prepare for one game. I think our track record's pretty good, especially I think with the negative noise of 42-3 and no offense and blah, blah, blah. So, I mean, I feel really good about how we're going to prepare over the next 20 days. It's not even that far away. And then, in Iowa, you get to go play in some warm weather. That gives you a little pep too. So I'm feeling good about how we'll show on January 1st.
Yes, thank you for the correction, James. Due to corporate sponsorship being as they are, I'll say
I can't even say the word.
Right. How about if I say in that bowl game? Because, now it's Camping World Stadium. It's not the Citrus Bowl anymore, so shame on me, the stadium, but the bowl itself. So, James Morris, your thoughts. So, Mark Stoops, a lot of Hawkeye connection there. You mentioned the every man win his individual battle earlier when you mentioned that. I think of Bill Snyder, the former Hawkeye great offensive coordinator, when I interviewed him back in my Kansas City Fox Sports radio days, and Coach Bill was still at K-State, and that was his whole goal. There's 11 positions. If we win 6 of the 11, we win that play. We win the game, throughout. So I love that mentality, and I get what you're saying there. But now let's take it to the bowl game. Mark Stoops, a lot of former Hawkeye player, defensive back, Bob Stoops' younger brother. Wildcats aren't bad. SEC, they started off the year well. They've lost to some good teams, tough games. I've only seen them once on TV here and there. Your thoughts on this game, and do the Hawkeyes win?
Oh, I think it's too early for me to make a call. I will
Okay.
echo what Vandy said, and that is I would expect us to be prepared. And I think Kirk's historically done a really good job of getting the team ready to go on these bowl games. So I would think you would expect that. It is just a different level of talent and a different style of play when you play an SEC team, as opposed to a Minnesota or a Northwestern who are well coached and they play hard. Versus when you play an SEC team, typically they're more talented but slightly less disciplined, and I think that's probably a fair assessment. So I would expect Iowa to do something similar to what they've done all year. Try to be balanced, try to find some edges where you think you have a win, and then press on that, and know that if you're going to win this game, it's going to come down to you making plays on defense and on special teams.
Guys, great stuff from you as always, James and James. Hope to catch up to both of you next week. James Vandenberg for sure, and James Morris. Definitely want to talk bowl prep with you two as we go forward. Actually, we're running a best of with Fran McCaffrey, Patrick, and Connor and Margaret next week. So on the 21st, when we record on Tuesday, and you'll of course see it, folks, right before Christmas. So we're going to do a pre-Christmas show. And so James and James, hopefully we can connect then. And I want to hear your assessments on bowl prep. Kirk Ferentz 9-8 in his bowl games as the Hawkeye head coach going into this game. So I'm curious on both your thoughts for bowl prep in your past and what the Hawkeyes do moving forward. So James and James, thank you so much. We'll catch up with you in a couple of weeks.
Thanks, Dave.
Thanks, Dave.
Thank you guys both. You're welcome, and thank yous. Thanks again to James and James, James Vandenberg, the former Hawkeye quarterback, and James Morris, the former Hawkeye linebacker. Back with more Hawkeye with me, Dave O'Hara, in just a few moments.
In farming, everybody knows relationships drive the industry. And with Merschman Seeds, you've got a friend in the field. Hi, this is Joe Merschman. We're the friend that delivers with extraordinary speed. We're the friend that shares knowledge and innovation. We're the friend that cares about your yields and profits. And we just happen to have the most advanced seed technology in the industry. When you choose the best seed, you also get the best people. Merschman Seeds, your friend in the field.
Hi, I'm Joel from Tice Chevrolet. We've lived through some very interesting times the last few months. Ensuring everyone's safety is more important than ever. That is why we're participating in the Chevy Clean program. At your request, we will pick up your vehicle, service it, and return it after we've cleaned it using the current CDC guidelines. This is just another way to work towards exceeding your expectations. So give us a call and let us show you what it means to be part of the Tice Automotive family.
Welcome back to Hawkeye with me, Dave O'Hara. Jeff Horner joining us. Jeff, former Hawkeye great, and still at or near most of the list, top of the list of most meaningful offensive statistical categories at the University of Iowa. Jeff now into year 4 as head coach at Truman State University. And Jeff, thanks as always for joining us. And before we get to the Iowa Hawkeyes, we got to talk about your Truman State Bulldogs, now 19th in the country. You were at number 2, lost a couple games, one a heartbreaker, and the other one was a tough game. And now you've won 2 games, and my goodness, you won an overtime at a half-court shot. And then you had a big victory, followed that up on Saturday. So now you moved up to 19th in the country. I'd ask how everything's going, but seemingly pretty well again, right?
Yeah, it's going pretty good. Thursday hit a game winner from half court. We probably won that game about 5 times, and it just seemed like we would make one mistake and then the game would just last longer than it should have. And then obviously, we made almost just a costly mistake. They steal it going for a layup, and we got 0.6 seconds left, and Mason Miller catches it at a half court, turns to his right, shoots a 3, and it goes in. So probably the craziest ending to a game I've ever been a part of. It was unbelievable. And obviously when you do it against Missouri St. Louis, who I think, us two are 2 of the best teams in the league, that's a huge win for us, because you can't lose home games in conference and think that you can win a conference championship. And then we followed it up Saturday against Maryville. I thought we finally were a little bit back to the way we had been at the beginning of the year, where we were playing with a little pep in our step, that type of thing. But that also helps when you play a couple home games too, and not on the road.
Yeah, so now during this holiday break, you're going to have a couple of non-con games, a couple of NAIA schools at home, and then you go back to the GLVC Division II conference schedule after the first of the year, and we look forward to catching up with you on that. But let's get to those Iowa Hawkeyes. Since last we talked, they lose to now number 1 Purdue. Came down the stretch, had a heck of a nice comeback, and losing a close one at Purdue. And you and I talked about going into that game, what a tough place that is to play at West Lafayette, Mackey Arena. And then you go to back home to Carver Hawkeye last night, quick turnaround from a Friday to a Monday, playing Illinois at home. A second Big Ten conference game. So more importantly, the Hawks get 2 losses, but they're conference games, so 0-2 in the conference. Lose 87-83 last night as we record this on Tuesday afternoon. They lose last night to Illinois. Talk about both those games, if you would. Hawks showed some effort and some fight. I'm not into moral victories and getting close, but this team can learn how to win and close games. Jeff, they're hanging around against 2 pretty good teams in Purdue and Illinois.
Yeah, for sure. I think just as an alum, as a former player, to see them fight back when they got down by double digits against Purdue and could have easily just cashed it in. They're playing without, arguably their best player is their best player. It is what it is with Keegan. He's a great player. And so just to see them really battle without him and see that they could, you can play without your best player, I think that's a huge confidence boost. Obviously not in the moral victories or anything like that, but cut it back down to 2 before, eventually giving way to, some tough shots and some finishes down the end. But I thought they battled against Purdue, and Purdue's obviously a really good basketball team. And then, they go into last night against Illinois, and, I thought they kept fighting. Illinois got up, then we came back, and it was kind of just a game of runs a little bit. And, it's one of those things where they continued to keep on fighting and battling. And I think Illinois, has just as good a chance, if anyone, to win the league. So, you're not into moral victories, kind of like what you said, but, they got 3 games here in a row, 4 games in a row, technically, right, that are just absolutely tough games. And, they got to find a way to win on Thursday against Iowa State. And if they can do that, get back on track. It's always tough to get back on track after a loss, but, they're playing some big time quality teams right now. And I do think that they're playing well, and hopefully they can get over the hump.
Now, Jeff, you being a former Mr. Iowa basketball in high school out of Mason City, and you go to Iowa. Iowa State was recruiting you. In upcoming weeks, we're going to talk about Iowa State and your recollections of playing there, playing them at in Iowa City. Also, Adam Haluska, still a good buddy of yours and former teammate, went there his freshman year and then transferred to Iowa. So I want to get into that during the holiday break with you and me. Next week, we're going to run a best of clip show of the McCaffrey interviews that I did with Fran McCaffrey, Margaret McCaffrey, Connor McCaffrey, and Patrick. But I want to follow up with you after that Iowa State game. And you're right, it's a big game at Hilton Coliseum. I know you've got a lot of memories and recollections of your games at Hilton I want to get to in a couple of weeks with you, and we'll talk about that. But you're right. Who knew Iowa State would be undefeated with TJ Otzelberger? I know he had a lot of transfers come in, but after 2 victories last year, this is a tougher game than seemingly thought at the beginning of the year, Jeff.
Yeah, for sure. I think TJ's done an excellent job. I think that was kind of the big thing coming in. All right, well, they only won 2 games last year. I thought he did a good job in the offseason of bringing some guys in to definitely make them competitive. They have some young guys. They have some transfers. I think they're a really good basketball team. You can kind of just see the energy change from last year, especially defensively. for them, this type of year too. So Iowa State's, obviously surprised quite a bit of people this year. I think Iowa's surprised quite a bit of people this year too as well, after losing quite a few guys from last year's team. And I think it's going to be a really good game. And hopefully J-Bo can leave his shoes at the free throw line again this year.
Well stated. Perfect point, drop-off point there. Jeff, thank you so much. We'll talk to you in a couple weeks. And go Hawks and go Dogs. Thanks, Jeff.
Thank you.
Thanks again, Jeff. You're welcome. Back with more Hawkeyed with me, Dave O'Hara. Sean Bock from Hawkeye Insider going to be joining us. Back with more in just a few moments.
Hi, I'm Joel from Tice Automotive Family. We're living through some of the most interesting and challenging times many of us have ever seen. Knowing who you can rely on is more important than ever. Many of us turn to our families to get us through, and the same holds true here. From our fair, upfront pricing to exceptional service after the sale, we truly want to exceed your expectations. So give us a call or stop by and let us show you what it means to be part of the Tice Automotive family.
Who do you trust to produce the best yield? A seed company that's chasing technology or a seed company that's writing the book on it? Hi, this is Joe Mershman. Mershman Seeds has been treating soybeans for decades, long before it was commonplace. We're the leader in technology, introducing Mershman Seeds' latest advancement in seed treatment, with an added fungicide to help produce a faster, more even emergence every single time. Who can you trust with your yields? Mershman Seeds, your friend in the field.
Welcome back to Hawkeye with me, Dave O'Hara. Sean Bock joining us here in just a moment from HawkeyeInsider.com. But I got to get to a few things first. Iowa women's basketball. Congratulations to head coach Lisa Bluter. I've interviewed her over the years, back when I was doing radio before television, and still do radio now. But we'll be having Lisa Bluter on here in the upcoming months. So congratulations to her on win number 800. What a career. One of only 5 active coaches that can say that, one of 14 all time. So congratulations to head coach Lisa Bluter and the Iowa women. Bluter's bunch. Also to the Iowa Hawkeye men's wrestling program. The men beat Iowa State on Sunday. A little bit of a tussle off the mat after the fact, but the Hawks win 23-11 for the Cy Hawk Trophy in wrestling. And then, of course, the Hawkeye men's basketball. We've talked about this program earlier with Jeff Horner about losing to Purdue and Illinois, and Iowa State game upcoming. By the time you watch this show, the Iowa State game will have already been played. And also the bowl game, Iowa playing in the Citrus Bowl against former Hawkeye player and now head coach for the Kentucky Wildcats, Mark Stoops. So it should be an interesting bowl game for the Citrus Bowl on January 1st, a New Year's Six bowl for the Hawks after their tough loss to the Michigan Wolverines 42-3 last weekend. So Sean, what else can we talk about? Recruiting with the Hawkeyes. So thanks for joining us as always. I know it's a busy time for you, so I'm going to let you get to it right away. Xavier Wangpa will be 18 tomorrow. We record this on Tuesday, December 7th. He'll be 18 tomorrow on December 8th. You have breaking news. Pretty confident you can say this. Fire away, please.
Yeah, with us recording it on Tuesday, decision announcement on Wednesday. This show will air on Friday, but I feel pretty confident that he'll be a Hawkeye. So big addition for Iowa. Obviously, it didn't look so good in the summer. Ohio State and Notre Dame were 2 schools that were really emerging, and I think anyone involved in that recruitment could tell you that. And even X could tell you that, but Iowa really did a great job in the fall, a couple of visits in July and then September, and then the official visit, Penn State weekend, really sold them. And you just got to give it up to Iowa and their production in the back half of or in the back end of the secondary this year. It was really, really impressive, and that really left a big impression on them.
I love that he's staying in state again. We're recording this on Tuesday, December 7th. Sean's going to have the official results and the official interview with Xavier tomorrow. Xavier and Wangpa will be an Iowa Hawkeye, and Wangpa on his 18th birthday. What a better time to announce it, but you have inside sources that have told you already today. He's going to Iowa, going to stay in state. That's awesome. Like you said, it's going to help the defensive backs immensely, depending who comes back next year for the Hawkeyes. That'll also be wonderful. A little concerned in the last 30 seconds we have here with Xavier might wanting to go to Notre Dame with the hire of Marcus Freeman, the defensive coordinator. Great player-coach relationship, but he's staying home in Iowa.
Yeah, Notre Dame made a late push. Kind of looked a little interesting there for maybe a day or two, but Iowa's had this one in the bag, it seems, for the last 2 or 3 months, or at least very, very good position, and that's putting it lightly. So Notre Dame was another one to watch, Ohio State as well, but Iowa was able to get the job done, and he's staying in state.
Love it, love it. He is Sean Bock, HawkeyeInsider.com. He and David Eichel have been saying this for months. Their feeling was he was going to stay in state, and he is. So Great stuff. Congratulations to the Hawkeyes. We're very happy about that, Sean. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you Dave, for having me.
My pleasure. We'll look forward to talking to you in the upcoming weeks. So for Sean Bock and Craig and Stacy Schroeder, James Morris, James Vandenberg, and Jeff Horner, I'm Dave O'Hara with Hawkeye. Thanks for tuning in. That's all from us. Thanks to all of you. And as always, thanks for staying tuned at the end of the program for these rolling credits to give our advertisers and sponsors the attention and credit they so richly deserve. And as always, to our aforementioned guests and to you, the viewers. That's all from us at Hawkeye. Thanks to all of you.